I used to say yes to too many things: invitations, meetings, social events, extra tasks, opportunities that didn't align with my goals. And every time I said yes to something unimportant, I was saying no to something that truly mattered. My health, my family, my priorities, my future, and I didn't even realize it. I thought being helpful, being involved, being liked, that was the way to success. I was wrong. In this video, I'm going to teach you something that took me decades to learn how to say no with power, with clarity, and with confidence, and mean it. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, burned out, or constantly distracted, chances are you have a yes problem. You're agreeing to too much, and your future is paying the price. Let me be clear. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful skills you will ever develop. It's not about being rude. It's not about being selfish. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your mission. Most people live reactive lives pulled in every direction, enslaved to obligations they didn't choose, committed to things they regret. Why? Because they're afraid of what will happen if they say no. They fear rejection. They fear disappointing others. They fear being seen as difficult, and so they betray themselves again and again. And I want to help you break that cycle. The truth is, people who master the art of saying no are the ones who rise. They don't let guilt guide their calendar. They don't let pressure dictate their priorities. They live on purpose. They operate with intention, and they achieve results others only dream of. I remember when I first started saying no without apology. It was terrifying. But something incredible happened. I felt free. For the first time, I felt in control of my life. I wasn't being pulled. I was moving forward by choice. Every no I said was a yes to something greater, to my goals, to my focus, to my future. That's what I want for you. But here's the hard part. Saying no isn't natural. It goes against our conditioning. From childhood, we're taught to be agreeable, to be liked, to be compliant. And that conditioning runs deep. So we avoid conflict. We give half-hearted excuses. We say maybe when we mean no. And we end up trapped in situations that drain us. To break this habit, you must rewire your thinking. You must unlearn the belief that saying no makes you a bad person. And you must replace it with a deeper truth. Saying no is an act of strength. It is a declaration of purpose. It is a commitment to your highest priorities. The first step? Clarity. You can't say no with power unless you know what truly matters. What are your top goals right now? What are you committed to accomplishing in the next 12 months? The clearer you are on your vision, the easier it becomes to see which opportunities are distractions in disguise. Second, you need courage. The courage to stand firm. The courage to disappoint others if necessary. The courage to put your future ahead of someone else's expectations. And that courage only grows when you practice. Start small. Say no to a minor request that doesn't align with your priorities. Watch how it feels. Pay attention to the guilt that might rise and let it pass. You're not doing anything wrong. You're doing what's necessary. You see, the people who get ahead are not the ones who try to please everyone. They are the ones who are ruthlessly selective. They know what they're building, and they guard their time like it's gold, because it is every yes costs you something. Every yes is an investment of your time, your energy, your attention. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up years from now having built someone else's dream instead of your own. Not anymore. In the next section, I'll show you how to build a mental framework that makes saying no second nature even when the pressure is high, even when the person asking is someone you care about, even when you feel the guilt trying to take over. Because the moment you start saying no with conviction is the moment you start saying yes to the life you were meant to live. One of the biggest shifts in my life happened when I stopped reacting and started designing. I realized that most people don't live their lives. They survive their calendars. They bounce from meeting to meeting, task to task, obligation to obligation, and at the end of the day, they wonder where their energy went. The truth is, it was stolen by distractions disguised as opportunities, by favors disguised as friendship, by responsibilities they never agreed to carry. Let me ask you something. How many times have you said yes to something and immediately regretted it? You felt it in your gut. You knew it didn't serve your goals, didn't fit your priorities, didn't align with who you want to become, but you said yes anyway. Why? Because it was easier in the moment. Because you didn't want to seem rude. Because you felt pressured. That right there is the trap, and it's costing you more than you know. When you say yes without intention, you pay in time, stress, mental energy, and progress. Saying yes out of guilt is saying no to growth. That might sound harsh, but it's true, and you feel it. Every yes piles up. Every yes adds weight to your schedule, clutters your focus, and chips away at your freedom. Before long, you're overwhelmed, frustrated, and stuck in a life that doesn't reflect your vision. Let's talk strategy. How do you start saying no in a way that feels strong, not selfish? You start by redefining what no really is. No is not rejection, it's redirection. It's not a wall, it's a filter. It protects your time, your values, and your future. When you say no to things that don't matter, you create space for what does. You protect your best energy for your best work. I developed a mental model that I call the decision gate. Before I commit to anything, I ask myself 3 simple questions. Does this align with my highest goals? Will this move me forward in a meaningful way? Would I feel proud of this decision a year from now? If the answer is no to any one of those questions, then the overall answer is no, period. And I don't justify it. I don't over-explain. I say it calmly, clearly, and respectfully. I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to decline. That's it. No guilt, no apology, no story. Because here's the thing. Every time you over-explain, you weaken your position. You invite debate. You invite negotiation. You open the door to persuasion, and you don't owe anyone your peace. When you start saying no with strength, you send a powerful message to the world and to yourself. Your time matters. Saying no is an act of leadership, and like any leader, you will be misunderstood. Some people will take it personally, others will question your priorities. That's okay. If everyone agrees with your decisions, you're probably not making the right ones. The goal is not to be agreeable, the goal is to be effective. You must stop measuring your worth by how many people you please. That's a broken equation. Your worth isn't defined by approval, it's defined by results. And results come from focus. Focus comes from clarity. And clarity comes from saying no to what's not essential. Let me share something personal with you. When I was building my business, I got invited to speak at dozens of events, dinners, fundraisers, seminars. Most of them were flattering, but most of them were distractions. I had to learn to say no, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when it came from people I liked. And every time I did, I created a little more space for what mattered most, my message, my mission, and my momentum. You have to train yourself to recognize that space is sacred. Every commitment you make is a trade. When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. Are you trading up or trading down? In the next section, I'll show you how to condition your mind to make no your default, so you automatically protect your priorities before pressure can even enter the conversation. I'll give you the exact language, mindset shifts, and small behavioral changes that transform you from someone who hesitates into someone who acts with calm, confident resolve. You see, most people have no idea how much of their lives are controlled by their inability to say number. They think they're being kind, supportive, or collaborative. But in reality, they're slowly giving away their time, their peace of mind, and eventually their dreams. Every unnecessary yes is a silent agreement to live someone else's agenda. And over time, that compounds. One yes to an event you don't need to attend, another yes to a commitment you resent, another yes to a person who doesn't value your time, and just like that, your calendar, your energy, and your life are no longer yours. I've seen brilliant, talented individuals work themselves to the bone, not because of ambition, but because they couldn't bear to disappoint others. They confuse busyness with productivity. They confuse being liked with being respected. But let me be clear. The more you try to please everyone, the less people will take you seriously. You become predictable, compliant, and ultimately invisible. Leaders, achievers, creators, they have one thing in common. They protect their time like it's life itself, because it is. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is this. Every yes is a trade. You're not just saying yes to a task, you're saying no to focus, to rest, to deep work, to your own goals. So ask yourself, is this trade worth it? Does this align with what matters most? If the answer is no, then your response should be no, immediately, respectfully, and without guilt. But let's be honest, saying no isn't easy, especially at first. We've been conditioned from a young age to associate no with rejection, confrontation, or failure. We were told to be polite, to be agreeable, to be accommodating, and so we carry that programming into adulthood, and it bleeds into every interaction. The fear of upsetting someone, the guilt of seeming selfish, the anxiety of missing out. But here's the truth that changed everything for me. Saying no is not selfish, it's self-respect. It's clarity, it's maturity. The people who are offended by your boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from you having none. And the moment you stop seeking validation from others is the moment you begin to validate yourself. That's when real confidence is built. That's when you stop negotiating your worth. I remember one client I coached who was overwhelmed, exhausted, and completely stuck in her business. She couldn't understand why she was working 12-hour days and getting nowhere. So we did a simple audit. We looked at everything she was saying yes, to every meeting, every task, every favor, within 30 minutes. It was clear. She was drowning in other people's priorities. The solution? Ruthless clarity. She began practicing one simple discipline, delaying every yes by 24 hours. Let me get back to you, she would say. That small pause gave her the space to evaluate, to prioritize, to decide on her own terms. And that one shift completely transformed her results. So I challenge you right now, audit your life. What are you currently tolerating that's draining you? What meetings, conversations, habits, or people are cluttering your path? And most importantly, why are you allowing it? Not from judgment, but from awareness. Because the moment you become aware, you gain power. And power is what allows you to reclaim your time, your attention, and your energy. Your ability to say no determines the quality of your yes. When you say no to the noise, you say yes to focus. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to mastery. When you say no to people-pleasing, you say yes to purpose. And that's where your life begins to change. Now let me show you how to build that muscle, because just like any skill, saying no requires practice. Start small, say no to a minor request today, decline a call, skip a meeting you're not essential to, postpone a task that isn't urgent. The point is not to be reckless or inconsiderate. The point is to train yourself to pause, to reflect, and to protect what matters most. Over time, your threshold grows. You begin to trust your judgment, and others begin to respect it too. We're just getting started, and in the next block, I'll walk you through the exact steps to develop unshakable discipline when it comes to protecting your time, because your future depends on it. You see, for most of my life, I believed that being helpful meant saying yes to everyone. I thought that being kind meant being available. I thought that being successful meant being involved in everything. And for years I was busy but not productive. I was respected but constantly overwhelmed. I was generous but constantly drained. I learned the hard way that there is a massive difference between being available and being effective. And the people who achieve the most in life are the ones who have learned how to protect their energy like their future depends on it, because it does. One of the greatest tragedies in life is not that we say yes to too many things. It's that we say yes to the wrong things. Every yes you give takes time, energy, attention. And that means every unnecessary yes is a direct no to your deepest priorities. Every time you agree to something that doesn't move you forward, you're postponing your own dreams. That's not kindness. That's self-sabotage in disguise. Learning to say no is not about becoming cold, detached, or rude. It's about becoming honest. It's about aligning your actions with your values, your time with your goals, and your energy with your purpose. When you say no to what drains you, you finally say yes to what defines you. And the moment you do that, something powerful happens. You gain clarity. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about what deserves your time. Clarity about what you are truly here to do. I want you to think of your time as a vault. Each hour is a coin. If you give out those coins carelessly, soon you'll be bankrupt emotionally, mentally, even physically. But if you protect that vault with discipline, if you invest those coins only where there's return, then over time, you'll build a legacy. Not of busy work, not of burnout, but of brilliance. But it starts with one small, powerful word, no. The key is learning to say it without guilt. That's where most people struggle. We're wired to avoid conflict, to not disappoint. But here's the truth that no one tells you. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to explain every boundary. You don't need permission to protect your purpose. The most successful people I know are not the ones who attend every meeting, reply to every message, or show up at every invitation. They are the ones who guard their time like their mission depends on it. Because it does. And let me tell you, when you finally stop overcommitting, when you finally start choosing yourself, people notice. Some may not like it. That's okay. Your job is not to be liked by everyone. Your job is to live your life with purpose, not permission. When people see that you value your time, they start to value it too. You stop being accessible to everyone, and you start becoming essential to the right one. It took me years to realize this, but once I did, everything changed. My energy went up, my stress went down, my clarity came back. I started producing more, achieving more, and living more intentionally. All because I finally gave myself the authority to say no and mean it. Not emotionally, not angrily, not as a reaction, but as a decision. Strategic, calm, grounded. So now I ask you, how many things in your life today are pulling you away from what truly matters? How many yeses have you given that need to become nos? How much of your potential is being buried under obligations that don't belong to you? If you want to become the person you're meant to be, it starts by subtracting the noise. It starts with protecting your peace. It starts with having the courage to say no and meaning it. At some point, you have to stop asking yourself what you're missing out on and start asking what you're giving up. Every time you say yes to something that isn't aligned with your core purpose, you're trading a piece of your potential for a fleeting moment of comfort. That comfort could be avoiding conflict, earning approval, or escaping guilt. But the price you pay is real. The more you compromise on your focus, the more you dilute your progress. And diluted progress never leads to the life you truly want. The reason so many people live in a constant state of anxiety and burnout is because they've lost control of their boundaries, they've opened every door, they've given everyone access, and now they're trying to figure out why they feel exhausted and unfulfilled. But it's simple. If you don't draw the line, people will walk all over it. If you don't define what's non-negotiable in your life, someone else will do it for you, and they won't prioritize your peace. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because I've been there. I've sat in rooms I didn't need to be in. I've said yes to deals I didn't believe in. I've accepted responsibilities that drained me instead of developed me. And every time I felt that the quiet frustration, the invisible weight, the subtle resentment, until one day I realized something. No one was coming to rescue my time. No one was going to build my boundaries for me. That was my job. That was my responsibility. And so I made a decision to respect my time as much as I expected others to. That meant practicing saying no before I felt ready. That meant disappointing people. That meant walking away from things that looked good on the surface but didn't feel right in my soul. And do you know what happened? My life got lighter. my vision got clearer, my results multiplied. Now I want to share with you a phrase that changed the way I communicate boundaries. It's simple and it's powerful. That doesn't work for me right now. You don't need to explain. You don't need to apologize. You just need to be clear. When you start speaking like someone who values their time, the world begins to treat you differently. Opportunities filter themselves. People respect your decisions. And most importantly, you begin to respect yourself. One of the biggest misconceptions is that saying no burns bridges. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything is what actually weakens relationships. Because when you say yes out of guilt or fear, you don't show up fully. You show up half present, half invested, and that creates resentment. Real respect is built on honesty, not accommodation. Real trust comes from clarity, not compliance. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't were never really for you to begin with. It takes courage to step into this. But courage grows through action. The more you say no, the stronger your voice becomes. The more you protect your time, the more powerful your presence becomes. You begin to carry yourself differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet conviction. You walk into a room knowing that your attention is not free, your energy is not for sale, your time is not negotiable. And people feel that. They may not always say it, but they feel it. So from now on, I want you to treat your calendar like your legacy. Before you say yes, ask yourself, is this aligned with who I want to become? If the answer is no, don't justify it, just decline it. If it makes you uncomfortable, good. Growth always starts where comfort ends, and the habit of protecting your time will serve you more than any yes ever could. In the final block, I'll show you how to lock in this mindset permanently, how to wire your brain to say no with strength, how to build your identity around focus and clarity, and how to finally create a life where everything you do feels intentional, strategic, and aligned. Let's finish strong. Now we've arrived at the real decision point, and I need you to hear this clearly. The most successful people in the world don't have more talent, more time, or more support. They simply have more clarity. They know what matters, and they fight to protect it. They don't let guilt lead them. They don't let pressure persuade them. They say no to what distracts, so they can say yes to what defines them. Your future, the one you want so badly, is not built in the big dramatic moments. It's built in the quiet discipline of decisions like this. Choosing to say no when it's uncomfortable. Choosing to protect your boundaries when you'd rather give in. Choosing to disappoint someone else in order to finally stop disappointing yourself. That's not cold, that's strength. And let me say this, you don't need a perfect plan to start protecting your time. You just need one thing, conviction. A deep inner commitment to finally take back control of your energy and your priorities. When you say no, from that place, you're no longer reacting. You're choosing. You're no longer playing defense. You're leading. And that shift in posture changes everything. I want you to imagine something right now. Imagine what your life would look like 6 months from now if you only said yes to what truly mattered. Imagine the peace of waking up with a calendar you chose. Imagine the clarity of moving through your day without constant interruptions. Imagine the confidence of knowing that every action you take is aligned with your vision. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you commit to saying no with intention and mean it. This isn't about being hard. This is about being real. This is about choosing a standard for your life and refusing to lower it for convenience or comfort, because your life is your responsibility. No one else will protect your time. No one else will build your boundaries. No one else will prioritize your mission. That's your job, that's your privilege, and that's your power. The truth is, every time you say yes to something unaligned, you're reinforcing a version of yourself that you're trying to outgrow. But every time you say no firmly, respectfully, clearly, you reinforce the version of you that you're becoming. The focused version, the disciplined version, the unstoppable version. And over time, those small moments of strength compound into a life you're proud of. You don't need to say yes to be enough. You don't need to be available to be valuable. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You just need to decide. Decide that your time is precious. Decide that your goals are worth protecting. Decide that your peace is non-negotiable, and then act like it. From this moment on, let no be your shield. Let it protect your purpose. Let it guard your greatness. Let it carve out space for the real work, the deep work, the work only you can do. And when that voice of guilt or fear whispers that you're being difficult, remind yourself, you're not here to live by default. You're here to live by design. So say no. Say it when it's hard. Say it when it's awkward. Say it when it rattles the people around you. Say it until you mean it and until they believe it. Because when you do, you become the kind of person who is no longer swayed by noise. You become someone who moves with purpose, speaks with power, and lives with peace. And that is who you were always meant to be.